G'day Aussie Gridiron fans, welcome to the G'day Gridiron podcast, an NFL podcast brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network. We are back tonight to do something a little bit special. We've got a few things to go through. Brad is here and he's going to give us a little bit of a wrap from the National Men's Final game. We've got a tiny bit of news and we've got the first of our deep dives into some teams. I don't know, we really don't have a firm name for the actual concept yet, but diving deep seems to be it at the moment. I don't know whether that gets a bit weird, Isaac, when we start talking that way.
Well, let's just leave it at that. We don't want to get cancelled here, do we?
No, not at all. How are we this evening, boys?
I was going to say, we've got the diving deep, specifically for a team like we're going to do tonight. We really are diving deep, like literally all the way. We're sinking to the bottom. So the name suits for this week, at least.
Yes, we are sinking all the way to the bottom for our first deep dive of the season. Brad, how are you, mate?
I'm doing well. Coming off another fantastic episode that you and I had earlier in the week. And just loving being here, frankly.
Some sensational amounts. I'll try that again without so many S's in it. Some sensational listens and feedback from that episode with Manjot earlier in the week, which of course was our 2022 draft recap or review, regrade as it was. Some great amount of listens, some good feedback from people on the socials. Manjot actually got his article out early, and I know there's been a little bit of feedback on that as well. If you do need to catch all that and you haven't caught up yet, go to the socials. You'll find a link to the Substack, and Manjot has written an awesome little regrade on the 2022 NFL draft. Brad, last weekend though, you had something big on.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just me. It was the entire football community. We got big. So no, it's the national championship between Queensland and Victoria, and I had the privilege of announcing that game. And for everybody that watched it, and you guys saw it, we had an absolute barn burner, a great game. So it was a lot of fun to announce. It was a privilege to be there, and it was worth it.
For everyone that watched it, Brad, 8.1k views on that YouTube stream right now. The stream was sensational. There was so many people watching it at once live, following along with you guys. And then so many people have obviously watched it since then. You can still find it if you want to. American Football Australia YouTube channel. You'll find that that whole game. It is well worth the watch. Brad, how was the game as a whole?
Yeah, it was good. It really was. It was a little bit of a defensive battle, but deservedly so. I think rightfully so. Both teams had had a little bit of a layoff between the previous games and this one. And like we mentioned in the broadcast, the game had been moved around quite a bit, move forward, move back, whatever. So they were just really glad to finally get it on. And then anytime you get that type of situation where the offense really hasn't gone against a different defense, you just scrimmage against yourself. It takes a little while. So hats off to Victoria, who and especially Craig Wilson, the OC there for Victoria. He just called a brilliant game, and I felt like he just really kind of I said it a couple times in the broadcast, but just manipulated the defense into getting what he wanted, and then just taking the shots accordingly. And the quarterback asked and just did a great job. So both quarterbacks really just good quality play.
Yeah, I'm hoping a lot of those guys have watched that game back, to be honest, their own game back, and can take a lot out of that game, because it was really a great game. The fourth quarter heated up as you would want in any football game, as we all want in any football game, especially even when we watch the NFL. When the fourth quarter gets a little more intense, everyone sort of takes it up a notch, just sticks into a different gear, and all of a sudden all the excitement level comes up, and the whole game really goes off. That really went well. It was great to watch. Isaac, you watched along live. I know you did. I didn't get to catch it live.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Like I didn't know what to expect going in from what kind of coverage they were going to get, but the production company did a really good job on what they were doing and doing all the replays, and they had a few issues there with the replay going in reverse, but they fixed that up quite quickly and got it going.
That was quite funny, to be honest.
It was, but like, what do we expect there? Like, we're not going to get ESPN value out of that, are we? So, no, I thought it was good. Brad's commentary with the two guys there was really good. I found it a really fun game to watch. And like Brad was saying, it was a barn burner. It had everything. Everything. Like, it had that overturned field goal call. It had the fake punt. It had the head ref just going home at half
The head
time.
ref going home at half time.
Dude.
It was just...
I've been in football for whatever. So I've been coaching since 20 years. I don't know what it's been, and I have never ever seen a ref just spit the dummy and quit at halftime. And it was so bizarre because I'm walking with one of the other announcers coming back from the canteen getting a drink at halftime, and I don't know people in the Queensland system. I'm more in tune with the South Australian coaching community and the reffing community and all that. So I don't know faces. So I'm walking on the concourse, and the guy next to me, the other announcer, says to the head ref, who's walking in the opposite direction, and it looks like somebody just punched him in the nuts. And he's walking in the opposite direction towards it. He's like, "Oh, only doing half of a game," just joking, like he's just completely joking. And the guy just keeps on walking, doesn't even acknowledge us. And I'm like, well, "Who was that?" And he's like, "That's the head ref." And I'm like, "He was carrying his gear." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't think he's coming back." I was like, "No way." And we go and see the other refs, and we say, "What's the deal?" And they're like, "Yeah, no, he quit." And we're like, "All right, we're not going to speculate. He has got a job to do." So, okay.
I just don't understand tapping out of a game at half time.
I know Brad can't speculate, but we can. And I was sitting there when I was watching it, I was like, it's just after the halftime call where they were having a big discussion about, I think, when the player got ejected from Victoria or something. So you can only assume that he's absolutely copped a mouthful from the Victoria guys and gone.
He's got to cop the pizzling from the coaches.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, somebody in terms of a coach needs to be really kicked up the arse.
Yeah, I mean, it was a Queensland player that got ejected, and then but Victoria was pretty hot about the field goal thing as well.
Yeah.
So because
that was right before halftime. Wasn't it?
that was right before halftime because originally they called it good, and then they took it back. But so Victoria got its way, but yet their coaching staff was just laying into that ref. So I obviously we weren't down on the field. We don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. So it was unfortunate. And I thought the refs that did stay recovered very well. Like I felt like they called a good game. It was a little bit more flags than what you want to see as a spectator, but it is what it is.
Mate, flags is undisciplined players, not necessarily bad referee.
Yeah,
you can only call what you see, and the issue with refereeing is that you are human and you are going to make mistakes at time. And sometimes that does affect a game. You can't go back on it. At this level, you don't have the ability to watch replays and have someone call in from somewhere else, or all those kind of things like VAR, like stuff. So. You just have to live with whatever call gets made, and you might be upset about it. But given the ref a pizzling so that enough that he just goes, screw this, I'm out. Yeah, that's not on.
I would agree. You don't abuse your refs. That's
who knows.
Yeah. Again,
I don't know. Who knows what got said?
Nick,
who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Nick, you're the only one of us that's currently playing. What did you feel about the game? Did you enjoy it? The quality of play? How did you see it?
I thought it was probably going to be a bit more high scoring than what it ended up being. I was the section of the game I was probably most surprised with, or probably most impressed, is Victoria's defense. More so because just from, we've played Victoria a bunch of times, us here from SA. So there's some noticeable guys that you think of up front. A few guys that sort of played outback with myself last year. And there was a bunch of guys that weren't actually there. So it was actually quite impressive because it looks like they didn't even send over like their full strength, starting also front seven. So that was the most impressive part. And they were able to keep Queensland the 10. And then just in the end, like Aston in the end, he was the backup playing outback last season. I would assume he probably tried. I'm not 100% sure. I'm assuming he probably tried out again this year to go again. He was really good. He was obviously being the backup quarterback in a one game campaign. How much time you're really going to get on the field. But he was awesome. Like he led that game winning drive. That got them over the line. So who did you? I was going to say, Brad, that if you had to pick a player, who would you have given like an MVP to for the day?
Oh yeah, we talked about this actually in the booth. Unfortunately, we didn't get it on the air, but for us, it was hands down, clear as day. It was the receiver for Vic, number 80, who caught the
Crusaders.
Who caught the game-winning touchdown in the end. That guy, it was, and I mentioned it in the commentary. They just kept going to him, and he just outmuscled people. And he had great hands, and he was a unit. And just the way, and the epitome to me, go back and watch that 4-minute offense that Vic did, driving down the field, 4 minutes to go, and they just chunked down the field. And that's a tribute to everybody, to their O-line for protection, because that Queensland D-line is good. They were really good. It's a tribute to Aston and his decision making. He didn't try and take the bombs. He chunked it down the field. He took what they gave him and the play calling from Craig. So I thought just overall they did a good job, especially that offense in that 4 minutes.
Yeah, I had him written down as well as players to watch. So Victoria, it was number 80, I think it was, and then the defensive guy Maddox, I think from 25 from Victoria, from Queensland, he was doing really well on the defensive side.
Joel Maddox.
No, they were good. And to your point, Nick, about the Vic O-line, you're absolutely right. I had a conversation with the Victorian coaches before the game, and they were telling me just about how some of them, they didn't even meet until the morning of that game. So they didn't know really what they were getting with these guys, which made it doubly impressive. Coming out there and doing it, especially that O-line. They said the O-line was put together kind of hodgepodge. And I mentioned that on the broadcast, but it was, so to do that, because you know, Nick, when you're playing O-line, you need some cohesion there.
Chemistry.
Exactly. And so
you got to know the tendency of the guy next to you.
Yeah.
Because you got to know, how much he oversteps, how much he's going to reach for that block. Run blocking is the biggest thing, of course. But it's interesting you mentioned that because I heard that for quite some time. And there was I won't name names, but there was a guy that used to play here who actually asked me before the campaign started to come across, but that's okay.
Fair enough.
They couldn't afford me.
Fair enough.
But,
who can, man? Who can?
So they it sounded like they did have some issues on that side, which I'm really surprised with, more so because they've got so many guys. Based off of having so much participation, so surely they would have been able to figure out, a 5-man line. I would have thought most of it would have been Crusaders guys, considering they've been so dominant and have been for a while. Which you would have seen, like most of the guys that played O-line for them were Crusaders, which is expected. So
but it's good. But it's good when it's not. It's good when it's not though, Nick, because it means that they have had genuine trials, and there's guys from other clubs that have been able to go shine through, and you can go, that guy is better than X. Well,
so you're exactly
and that's what you want from a state team.
Yes and
really.
no. Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no. I feel like when you've got a team that's so dominant in the state, sometimes it's it's situations like that where you have I've been in state campaigns. We've had 4 of the 5 O-line from us here at the Hogs, and it's just like it's just the best 4 guys we've had. So sometimes it really works. If you've got a competition where it's a bit more even, then obviously you can have that more of an even spread. But obviously, you get a team that's they've won, I think, the last how many in a row? I think 7 or 8 or something. Like you're definitely going to get a lot of guys from that team everywhere.
All right.
So I've got a question for Brad. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Just
go
before we go,
Isaac. Yeah.
What level do you reckon they play at compared to like? So is that a high school level over in the States, or is it a lower level college, or is that like would they be competitive in what level over in the States, you reckon?
So it varies a little bit. I would say overall they would be like a really good high school team. Yep. But yet some of the players are definitely college material, some of them. But in terms of a team, that I would say, a really, really good high school team. Now, you throw in some of these exceptional like high school teams out of California, Texas, Florida, some of those teams, that would be a little bit of a different story. I think I would even take those guys. But it's a little bit apples to oranges in the sense that like state teams and stuff like that, they only practice a couple times together. American teams, you practice 3 hours a day, 5 days a week or 4 days a week. Plus you do film study on a weekend and that type of thing. So you can't fully compare. Like if I could take the guys here from Australia and put them in an American system, they'd be way better. Just because of the time invested in the program. And plus you're dealing with men versus, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Now that said, some of the 16, 17, 18-year-olds are freaks over there. So you can, doesn't matter how good the guys are here, there are some guys over there that, we had a guy on our team who ended up playing in the NFL quarterback. So he had a cup of coffee in the NFL. So, it's just that kind of stuff is just pretty rare. That doesn't happen very often.
So essentially, like if you would like to see if the Australian team was going to play, let's say in a tournament against Americans, Canadians, whatever that the American football tournament is, if they were going to do that, then it would be, you would say, if they could get the Australian team together for an extended period of time where they could train together properly, do proper study on themselves, film study on themselves, learn the game a bit better, learn each other a bit better, that they would have a much better chance to get some of these teams that would be, when they're restricted on age like they are in those American football tournaments.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they would. They would do better because you understand. So much time is invested. Even so, in America, even if you're not a part of that tournament team, let's say, because those guys are thrown together too. So take, for example, the youth program, the youth tournaments, the world tournaments they do for the youth. Those guys are thrown together from all over America. Yet they've already invested so many hundreds of hours into their craft that they're at a higher level than the Australian team, who has only invested tens of hours. I'm just into their craft. So in terms of pure athleticism, the Australians are good. They're right up there. It's just the fact that they haven't had the coaching and the time invested like they do in America.
Yeah, right. So obviously, because in America they grow up with that game the same way we grow up with Australian rules, or we grow up with rugby or league.
It's why Aussie rules are dominating punting. Because you grow up with it. Whereas in America you don't.
Yeah. All right, we have a little bit of a new segment that we're going to debut. And it starts with a little bit of this.
Welcome to Brad's Catchphrases.
You didn't.
Brad.
No.
Isaac watched that whole stream. No. And Isaac took notes.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Isaac, what do you got for us?
Well, it was going to be Brad's catchphrases or is this Brad or not Brad? So we've got a few here that come across the live broadcast. Yibbity, yibbity, yibbity. You referred to, I think maybe yourself or someone else as older than David Attenborough on his 100th birthday.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
I think I was talking about a quarterback sneak, that play. It's
You're talking about the quarterback sneak.
Yeah,
that's right.
Older than David Attenborough, yes.
And although I think they've cut it out now. You've dropped the Australian Gridiron Network a few times. Perfect, yeah. Great advertisement. Bloody beautiful.
Thank you.
You tried.
And
yeah, I did.
There was a lot of times that I heard on the broadcast. We don't want to speculate. We don't want to speculate. we don't want to speculate. Now, we're not here in speculation.
But
and we know this one has been cut out. So
if
you're listening, don't put it back in. Pulling out never works.
Oh man.
And
yeah.
Well, you might know the guy who's talking about give him the ball so you can run the rock.
Yep.
That's what he's talking about.
Yep.
Well,
that's what I am. Oh, jeez.
Well, we know how much you are a fan of punters. You mentioned on the broadcast that they are soulless people.
I did.
Right. How could you?
I did. Sorry, Nick.
What do you mean by that?
I did. I said we don't care about punters. They're soulless
far.
people.
That's too far.
I say I can't control the stuff that comes out.
Equal part of the 53.
We can snip that part too, Brad, if you like. I can't control the stuff that comes out. And then one that I never thought I would hear a Dallas Cowboy fan say: "Fly, Eagles, fly."
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I do. If the broadcast team could kindly send me over the raw audio of Brad, that would be amazing. Because you know what, I'd like it.
Oh,
imagine the drops we can snip up out of that game.
There is there's no evidence of anything super inappropriate, but I just want to thank American football.
Either I'm an idiot or you guys are, one of the two.
Well, I think we know the answer to that.
It's AI. He's going to blame it on AI now.
That's right. That's exactly right. Oh man,
Brad AI.
Thank you for that game. I hope I never give enough content to do that again.
Brad, unfortunately, I don't think that's ever going to be true.
Yeah, right. I think you're exactly right. I could be on my deathbed and I'll say stuff that's inappropriate. Oh man.
Anyway, let's move on from that. It was amazing to hear Brad on that call, and yes, whilst he can't always hold his tongue, and Brad, the pulling out one is just absolutely hilarious, and I know why, because I was trying to find it, and there's quite a few times when I came across just in a span of about 5 or 6 minutes worth of game time where the boys were constantly talking about pulling, and I know you. And it would have been in your head from the very first time that they said that. And it would have just built up and built up
right
and
here.
built up.
Right here.
Right.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Pretty much
say
what
it.
it was. It's exactly Nick. Nick is like, don't say it. Don't
He was
say
just
it.
edging to say it, and then it was all about the play action read that tipped him over.
It's just, yeah.
It was the trickery.
Exactly.
There's so many times where they were doing that. And yeah, anyway, it was great to hear you on that. It was great to watch that game. I really do hope you do actually get some more opportunities because you were fantastic both on the junior tackle nationals and on this game as well. That's what commentating needs. They need the idiot that just says the thing that comes into his head and have a laugh. I mean, they do it on NFL broadcasts now.
Yeah.
Like, how many times?
Yeah, it's I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, so I do appreciate the people that have reached out to me and given me a lot of positive feedback from the juniors and from this game. So I do appreciate that, and I admit, like, I'll be honest. Most like professional announcers don't really like my style because it is a little bit more abrasive, so to speak.
Off the cuff.
Well, and it's and I'm more authentic. I think I just, in the sense of, I don't try and be super polished or that type of thing. But that's why people like it, and some people do, some people don't. And yeah, I could always improve. I admit that. So yeah.
Are you in talks to go to the Australia-New Zealand game?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Just purely because I would have to pay my own way to go.
We talked about
GoFundMe.
We talked about this the other night. I think it must have been after we pressed stop with Manjot. I said, geez, that would be nice if we'd known about this kind of thing a little earlier, and when it was, to actually have just tried to get the funds together to go there and do this stuff. Because I absolutely think Brad would kill it in a booth for like an international game like that. Manjot would absolutely destroy just doing social media stuff from the sideline of one of these games and reposting stuff. He did that on our Instagram and mainly on the Pastry Press one, and he reposted on ours and stuff. Isaac was helping him out with that all through the game. There is a stupid amount of traction that he got from that game. We talked about marketing and stuff last week, Isaac, Nick, and I, and the fact that we think that AFA are really missing the boat on this. And I think Manjot himself, for one game, absolutely proved why they need to have somebody competent doing that job and really marketing the game, because it's phenomenal. The reach we have had in 7 days is far beyond anything any of us have gotten. Even Manjot with Pastry Press, which is huge these days. And Matty and Tay just surpassed 5,000 followers on the Aussie NFL Supercoach Insta as well. Awesome. So, like, they got there's 40K in views alone over essentially a 3-hour period. It was insane. So, Manjot would kill if you had him be able to send him to New Zealand to do that international game. I'm sure if they live stream it, he's probably going to be doing it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hey, you know what? Maybe we should do an alternate.
Yes. That will get us blackballed forever, I think. But you had a great idea, though, Ian. I thought, just like trying to do like an announcers guild or whatever, and if we could all get involved in that in some way, shape, or form in our local areas, I think that would be a huge thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be a solid idea, and one we might pursue at the Aussie Gridiron Network. You never know, because we all need more on our plate.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Little bit of NFL news to start the NFL portion of tonight's program. Couple of signings this week. I'm going to start off with one for the Vikings. Juwan Jennings signs with the Vikings for a 1-year contract worth $8 million. Potential to add another $5 million to that to take it up to $13 million through incentives. He has spent all of his 6 years in the NFL at the San Francisco 49ers, who drafted him a very long time ago. So this is Jennings, only his second team in the NFL. Moving on from the 49ers, Nick, it would seem that the 49ers might be a bit more confident in what they've got with Evans, and, of course, picked up a wide receiver during the draft, and hoping that Ricky Pearsall manages to stay away from gunfire for an extended period of time.
Gunfire didn't miss him any games. Gunfire didn't miss him any games.
Gunfire didn't.
Everything else, soft tissue. Soft tissue stuff and non-contact stuff has kept him out longer than the gunfire.
And you think Jennings would be on the Vikings, though? Jennings will go on the Vikings, though.
I think he's a great number 3 option for sure. As if you, I mean, I watch it sort of a lot more closely than you guys with our games, but his ability to get open and to convert on third downs is very underrated. Had a saying for quite a while, third and Juwan, even if it was long, just getting the ball, big receiver, can run those intermediate routes quite well. So he won't stretch over the top. I suppose the Vikings don't really need that anyway, but he works very well in the underneath sort of stuff. A bit sad to see him go because, a couple of years ago should have been a Super Bowl MVP if we got over the line, in my opinion. But Yeah, I think it worked pretty well with the Vikings. I don't think his production drops or anything. Obviously, if you get good production out of McCarthy, whoever's playing quarterback, I think it'll slot him very well in that system with Kevin O'Connell.
And another free agent off the list just in the last couple of days. David Njoku signs with the Los Angeles Chargers. A great pickup for the Chargers to get Njoku, who has been a stalwart at the Browns for such a very, very, very long time. Ever since, or basically, they drafted him as well, 2017. They drafted him, and he's been there for, I think, nearly 9 years. I think it might be, if I'm doing my math correctly. Get my fingers and toes out. So Njoku, Brad, to the Chargers. I think that's a great landing spot for him. Great veteran presence as a tight end. Amazing pass catcher, and he's with McDaniels. So that could be a very interesting pickup for the Chargers.
Yeah, I think so. He, like you said, he's spent his entire career with Cleveland. Former first-round pick. I know he went to the Pro Bowl at least once. So he's not even 30 years old. So, but has he lost a step? I don't know. He certainly hasn't lost anything in his biceps. Those things are huge, man. And he loves to show them off. But
31 years old, that dude is a mountain still.
Is he 31? Oh, I thought he wasn't even 30 yet. Yeah. So he's one of these guys that I feel like he's super athletic. Everybody talks about his athleticism and like, when's he going to take that next step? When's he going to take that next step? And we all know tight end is a position that's hard. It takes time to build into. But I think pretty much, what you see of David is what you're going to get. So he's going to make good plays. He's not the best blocker in the world, but he's super athletic, decent in the run after catch, really good in the red zone. So that's going to be, I think, how they're going to use him there. So it'll be exciting though.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, he had a really good run when Winston was in for the Browns. There, Winston targeted him quite a lot, but
yes, you're right.
He struggled last year, but be nice to see what he's going to be like with a competent quarterback in Justin Herbert there to see what he does.
Yeah. So I'm going to love to see how McDaniel uses him. And how much he's going to be a blocker, or how much he's going to be split out, and that type of thing. Because McDaniel will figure out, if anybody can do it, McDaniel can. So it would not surprise me to see him have a little bit of a bounce back season. Because let's face it, he's never had a quarterback half as good as Herbert. So no apologies to Shedeur Sanders. Sorry, but
Pro Bowl Shedeur Sanders.
Oh, shut up. Majority starter Shedeur Sanders. Don't you wag your finger at me.
That's correct too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I think and we're not here to talk fantasy, but he could be a sneaky fantasy pick.
I would think so. Absolutely, Brad. Yes, very much so. And the last one is a retirement after 7 years in the NFL, and largely a career backup who had some reasonable success in a few teams. Taylor Heinicke has decided to hang up the boots. Interesting career arc for Taylor Heinicke, who started out with the Vikings in 2015 and went on to the Patriots, the Texans, the Panthers, the Commanders, and the Falcons, and the Chargers a couple of years ago is where he finished up. So he's decided that he will hang it up. How's this for a career backup? In the games that Taylor Heinicke started, or played in, rather, not just started, but just had a hand in, he went 13, 15, and 1, 39 touchdowns, 28 interceptions. and for all that, essentially earned himself around $19 million in the bank.
Not bad.
No, not bad to, yeah, to be a quarterback in the NFL is like you're consumed. Like that is your only life. You don't have work-life balance, but I'd do that for 19, considering 19 million and he's 33 years old and he could really, he could live the rest of his life, assuming he's done it well. Out of that 19, he's probably only gotten, probably half that if, but still, you give me $9-10 million, and I think I'd do just fine.
Just fine. Be happy with it. All right, let's move on to our deep dive segment where we are going to be diving deep into the Las Vegas Raiders. That's right, the Las Vegas Raiders, who most recently had the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft and selected none other than Fernando Mendoza, one of those things that are obviously the worst kept secrets in all of football every single year. The Raiders have had a very, very turbulent time since moving from their old Oakland roots to some people have called this, God knows why, the neon furnace in Las Vegas. It looks more like a toilet seat to me. In 2020, it's less like a franchise reborn and more like a slot machine just stuck on Cherry's skull. Cherry, how's that for Vegas
Nice.
references?
I like that.
It's been their tenure essentially in Las Vegas has been just marred by instability in coaching. Of course, we all know John Gruden resigned. They fired Mike Mayock not long after the GM. McDaniels didn't last more than 2 seasons, not even that. They've gone through so many different offensive systems and roster philosophies and just changing everything. In that time, they've had some woeful high-profile misses on draft picks, just absolutely studded and number 1 with a bullet, in no pun intended, by Henry Ruggs III. And then other names like, of course, Alex Leatherwood, who was a first-round pick cut after 1 season. And then, what was the other one I looked up? Clellan Farrell, who was drafted 4th overall, ahead of Josh Allen and Devin White. They've managed to waste all the star talent that they have come across. Of course, they developed stars, Devontae Adams, Max Crosby, Josh Jacobs, and then let Jacobs walk. Adams became pissed off and they moved him on. And this year, Max Crosby almost got moved. So, boys, this whole thing has been a massive shit show from start to finish. And I've asked the question often with the Las Vegas Raiders: is when do they find that guts? When do they find that identity? When do they try and recapture what they had in Oakland, where they were this feared, just brutal franchise that nobody wanted to play against in or out of the stadium?
So sorry, what's your question again around that? What?
Well, it's just in general, Brad.
Oh,
I've been
okay.
asking. Yeah, I've been asking that for a while. Like, when do they find this? Where do they go from here? Talk to me about the Raiders. Let's, Brad. I know you've written a bit on this. You want
Yeah.
to start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. And I think, your kind of summary about their ineptness is good. And it could go even further. You think back, if I had to pick the all-time greatest NFL bust, I would probably say it was Jamarcus Russell there. And this was probably before your guys' time, but in 2007. So he was the number 1 draft pick out of LSU. And basically, if you're interested, just go look up Jamarcus Russell fat. and you can just see. I'm not fat shaming anybody. I'm fat, but it's just the guy is just it's horrible. So yeah, they just have a long history of incompetence, and what is exciting about that is I feel like they're now kind of making decisions that gets them a seat at the adult table, so to speak. They're acting like a coherent, logical team. Gone is the whole Al Davis kind of do everything by your own whatever your own instincts, just win, baby. This kind of mentality. And so often he was just making just stupid decisions, and you saw his son also just making silly decisions. And I think surrounded by a bunch of people that were yes men, and it was almost as if the Raiders had a need to do it differently. And it didn't matter if it worked. They were more concerned about being unique or trying to be the smartest guy in the room, and that doesn't work, especially in the day and age of advanced metrics. So I love the Tom Brady mentality, so to speak, and I think that's the biggest change is what he's bringing into it. And I don't know if it's all him or not, but Tom's bringing in a sense of professionalism, a sense of the Patriots way kind of, and I think that's what's going to pay off huge for him. And you're seeing that with Clint Kubiak. You're seeing that with a lot of these off-season moves. So I love where they're headed. I feel like the offense is finally finding an identity. I feel like the Brady influence is huge. And they're finally prioritizing continuity and a plan versus just trying to do this kind of hodgepodge here and there type stuff.
I just wonder if the actual landscape that they're now in plays a part. My dad is actually a Raiders fan, says that all the time, and he was the most pissed off when they moved. He said no team wins at a party town. It's the same with sports in Australia, like Gold Coast, like near the AFL NRLs, like they're no good. It's the same thing. And when you get a bunch of young guys that come through and they're cashed up with a lot of money, and particularly in Vegas where it's a desert, and then there's a strip of just let's take your money. It's so much shit to do. It's like, you get bored pretty easy in a town like that. So I think, yes, they've made some steps in terms of they're building this offense. They've brought in the number one pick in Mendoza. They've fixed up a lot of their defense as well through the draft. Well, they're trying to fix that. But it feels like they sort of need this sort of almost like a Dan Campbell presence where they just need someone that's just going to bring that sort of guts back, and that sort of just someone that's just going to say, we're going to bite your kneecap off, we're going to do all we can to, get across the line and work as hard as we can. Like that sort of mentality. And I think I don't know if that's a Kubiak thing, if he's going to be able to bring that in, but I think that's really what they need. You really need that sort of finesse guy as maybe the guy that's calling the plays. Yes, of course, like to, you bring through a guy that's, a bit more modern day, like the Kubiaks and under that tree of like McVay and Shanahan and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you're stepping up to a head coach role. You do need someone that's going to come in, and it's particularly like a team like this that's been, crying out for ages. They've moved to the city, haven't even made, I don't even think, a playoff game, even on the road, since they've been there. So they really need someone that's going to come in and be a culture setter. Get a young quarterback in there. He's learning from Kirk Cousins. Whichever way they sort of spin that, if Kirk's going to start week 1 or whatever, Fernando Mendoza's really good, so be it. But they need to get it together because they've got talented guys. They've got Genty. They've got Bowers, who's really good. Somehow luck fell their way, and they're keeping Crosby, who's a blue chip pass rusher, and they're hard to find as well. So they're given an opportunity now. They've got people in the building. They just need to just have that sort of culture reset. I feel that's what's going to push them forward because it's a very tough division. Like, look at the coaches that are in there. Look at the quarterbacks that are in there. The Chiefs aren't going away. Denver's going to be around the mark. The defense is still awesome. The Chargers are still going to be really good. So it's a tall task ahead. So they really need someone in there and knows what they're doing and can really set the culture.
Yeah, I think they may look back at this off season and see that this is the off season that really changed the franchise for what it's going to be. Like going back to Brad's point, they've come in with a plan. Okay, so they draft Mendoza, but they go out and they also sign Kirk Cousins to mentor him through. So that to me shows that they've got the long term future in mind. And I think I've said it on the podcast before. The free agent signing of Lindenbaum is going to be one of the best of this free agency that's just gone. What he's going to do for that offensive line, he's going to help Kubiak out. He's going to help Genty out as well. So he was coming into last year's draft as a generational talent, and he couldn't get anything going because the offensive line was so bad. So they had 5 rushing touchdowns last year. 5 all season. So, I mean, they needed to get into the trenches. They've done it with a veteran. They haven't relied on the draft, which I think is probably a smart thing to do. Like, I know you've got to pay him a lot of money, but the money's going to be worth it to keep Mendoza upright in the future and Genty playing as well. And their offense isn't missing much. Like, it was their offensive line last year, and Geno Smith just got mauled every game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got Brock Bowers there. An underrated signing for me is Jalen Naylor from Minnesota Vikings that come over. He signed with them. He could potentially grow into a wide receiver 2. So I think all the pieces are there. And as Nick said, they lucked out with getting Max Crosby back after they made their free agency splash. So I think they're really going to look back at this offseason and say, this is the one that changed the trajectory of our franchise for the future.
I think it's changing their trajectory. I think you're absolutely right. I kind of liken it a little bit to where the Lions were when they first got Dan Campbell, like what Nick said, and I think that's their mentality that they're going to need, like Nick said. But I'm curious to you guys. So like the quarterback room, what do you see as success for the quarterback position in this season? Is it having Kirk Cousins start all year and Fernando sits, or because Kirk fits in this offense really well. This is a Shanahan style offense. He knows the style offense. So, it's going to be a kind of a spread zone. You put you run out to the side, spread zone, and then Genty is perfect at doing a cutback and finding the gaps. And then Kirk knows how to the linebackers get manipulated and you fill in behind the linebackers with your passing tree. And Kirk knows how to run that. So is success where Kirk starts all year, or do you throw Fernando in there, halfway through the season? I'm just curious, what do you guys think success is in that quarterback situation?
I think success is 2027, 2028. Brad.
Okay. Yep.
I think this year is a moot point, because I think the way that they're setting themselves up, especially with the players they've picked up through free agency and the draft, are setting them up, and as well as ridiculous cap space still through 27 and 28. I think that's where you're looking at. And I think that they're finally maybe trying to, as you said earlier on, we've got an actual adult in the room. We've got an adult at the table. And I think that's where they're sort of going towards, and that's where they're pointing towards. So what does success look like this year? I think you leave Kirk Cousins in there for as long as you need to. And like at some point, Mendoza will probably get some kind of start through the season, or he'll get some kind of play through the season, because you want to see
Kirk will
what
go
you've
down
got.
for injury or something.
Even if he doesn't, if the season's not going the way you thought it was in that division, because it's a tough division, then you give the kid some runs on the board and see how he goes. Let him feel what it's like to be up against the first teamers in an actual game, and do that. But I think ultimately you just try and get whatever you can get in terms of growth out of this season, and everyone coming together and surviving as a cohesive unit. And not having Max just have temper tantrums midway through a season, because the offense can't score any points.
Yeah.
And you just try and get towards that end of the season. That's what I feel, because I think the guys that they picked up, there's draft picks that they picked up, later draft picks, which were amazing moves, a lot more underrated. I mean, they got Jamard McCoy in the 4th round, which is a great move. They got Mike Washington. It could be an okay running back. It's a 4th round running back. That's about where they sort of go. Could be not. Malik Benson ended up as a 6th round pick for him as a wide receiver. Yes, he might be depth, but we've seen these guys really pop over the years, and he does actually have some good metrics. So there's some different guys there that you pair along with Genty and and others like will nail her a bit. Trey Tucker was okay. Brock Bowers, phenomenal pass catcher as a tight end. So you pair along with these guys, and then the experience and the level-headedness of guys on defense. That defense was really good last year. It wasn't terrible. People seem to think because they got the number 1 overall pick because they were the worst team in football that instantly the entire team was bad. But to me, it wasn't.
I think it's in comparison to the offense. Like, that offense was so abysmal. The defense didn't have any chance. And I think if you would have made that offense halfway decent, the defense would have looked a lot better. But yeah, Nick, Isaac, what do you guys think about that quarterback situation?
I think just play whoever's the best out of camp.
Okay.
Like, Perks deal is set up. It's essentially a 1 year, 20 mil guarantee. After that, there's a bunch of like club clauses that can kick in. So I suppose like Kirk's mine, you'd be going after him and just say, you know what, I've got the full year guarantee for this season, just this season. Then, if I play the whole season, we're punching above our weight, particularly offensively, force the team to make a decision. There's a thing in this contract that says, they can trigger an extra 2 years with a club option, which is like 70-something million. Like, go out, ball out. I'm sure it'd be competitive enough to want to do it because, at 38, 39, it's big money that'll be coming in. It's almost close to 40 million a year in the next 2 years after this season. So he'll be wanting his spot. So I suppose just play the quarterback that's best. And the thing that I'd be keen on is that Mendoza doesn't seem like a guy that he seems like a guy that's got good IQ. And I think the system, that spread system is going to fit because a lot of the stuff they did at Indiana was more so like an RPO sort of setup. Yeah. So he's making those reads with the linebackers as middle linebackers anyway. So if they're interchanging between giving the ball to Genty, using that run game, and then using, he's got that same sort of line of thinking where when he's doing his reads, he's keying on, which linebacker am I reading, which part of the field. So I don't think it's one of these situations where he needs to learn the system. There'll be a lot of nuances and stuff like that, of course.
Yeah, I think going under center is going to be a big adjustment for him.
Yeah, 100%, because he hasn't played under center, so that's a bit of a different thing. But I'm assuming he'll be able to pick that up. So number 1 pick for a reason. Yeah. So I think it just play whoever's the best guy. That might be Kirk Cousins for the first 8 weeks. Who knows? But see how you go. It also depends on maybe what the schedule looks like. If they've got a brutal schedule the first half of the year, they're front loaded with they're going to play all of their or most of their divisional rivals, which is probably going to be their tougher games anyway on the road. It's probably going to be challenging for Kirk because those are good defenses to come up against. Chiefs have gotten better defensively. Broncos are still really good defensively, and so are the Chargers. So, I suppose you just got to find out. But I wouldn't sit Mendoza for the sake of sitting him. There's no point in doing that. Like, if he's the best quarterback, play the best quarterback. I don't think he's that guy that needs that time just cause.
Yeah, I think I would see Kirk starting and then the Raiders looking at the schedule that gets released later this week and finding a soft part in that schedule where they can probably start Mendoza a few games. So just looking at their opponents, the home and away, they've got the Titans, they've got the Dolphins, they've got the Cardinals, the Browns, the Jets, the Saints. So there's 5 or 6 teams that aren't projected to be overly good. So you could probably just, if they get them in weeks 16, 17, 18, you can probably start Kirk until then, and then maybe the season's probably gone by then for the Raiders. If we're being completely honest, in the division they're in, like you guys were saying, they got the Chiefs, Broncos, and the Chargers. That's where they can stick him in and go, all right, this is first team reps. This is what you're going to do in the future. Go out and let's see what you can do. What have you learnt from Kirk in this time in 15 weeks? Let's see what you can do.
My honest prediction, though, is that this is what I think will happen, not what will happen. What I would want them to do, this is what I think will probably happen, is that they'll probably have a similar situation. Like if Kirk's not going the way that they think he is, it's probably going to be similar to what happened last year, where like Brian Dable was itching and was like, let's just get the kid in, throw him in. And I mean, that decision was more so buying him time because it was so early on, which ultimately didn't work in the end. But I think Kubiak's just going to be like, if Kirk's not going to work first team reps, like, what are we doing? We might as well just throw Mendoza in. He's a high floor guy anyway. It's not one of these projects that are coming through, so he might just get to the stage, 5 weeks in or so, depending on how Kirk's going, just put him in.
So if Kurt's not working, what's that, like 2 or 3 interceptions a game or something, is it? Or is it just like, well, you're getting blown out each game? Or what's
it could be, because I mean, towards the end of his time with the Falcons, when Penix went down, he wasn't super special. I suppose it was a game here and there where he was really good, but you didn't really see enough out of him. So I just wonder.
It wasn't a splash. He just steadied the ship more than anything with the Falcons.
Yep.
You almost got him into the playoffs.
He did. That's what I meant by steadying the ship. He just and I think that's just a veteran presence in terms of steadying that ship. That's what that needed. And I in a way, I think you boys are right. That's what the Raiders need in a way. They need a veteran presence, but they don't necessarily need him on the field. He's still going to be amazing as a backup. He clearly had been for Penix. So he's going to be there. And if you do throw the kid in and the kid falters or you don't want to risk him, then you've still got Kirk to just throw in there and he'll do a job. The only problem will be for the fans if they do see some success with Cousins, because they've been lacking in so much success for so many years. If they see some success with Cousins, it's going to be hard to then put Mendoza in. You kind of want it to go bad. You kind of want it to go badly, if you want to put Mendoza in. And then if he doesn't look like he's playing well, then they'll be screaming for Kirk back, because this is a fan base that, the fan base that is still largely in Los Angeles. It's still on the other side of like a different part of the country. Not the other side, but just a different part of the country. They're largely there because that's what they are now.
So what happens then if it turns out like the Bryce Young situation where you throw him in there, he looks no good, and then you sit him, and then you want to throw him back in there?
It's touchy.
We sit there and say, oh, we do all this, but it can turn bad, and we just sit there and go, well, there's a child in the room again. Like we thought there was an adult, but there's not.
Yeah. I think the better model. I completely understand what you're saying, Nick. In terms of best guy out there goes, and I get that. My only concern, my only pushback with that would be with rookies. They may be the best out there for a game or two, but like what we've always said, and everybody knows, once you get film on them, then you got to adjust, and then it could turn south pretty quickly. So I personally think you're better off taking the kind of the Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes mindset, where his rookie year he only played that one final game of the season, and I think that was more of an Andy Reid thing. Because people were telling, everybody in hindsight says Mahomes was ripping up practice. Like everybody was saying he was the better quarterback, but Andy I think took the long-term approach and said, no, we're going to sit this guy, give him a game experience, obviously at the end of the year. And then next year they ran with him.
Well, Brady himself, if he's got any say in any of this, he has been quite vocal over the years about the fact that that model is what had worked for years, and that model works. Is that you don't just throw the kids in straight away. And the problem with the league at the moment, and in his eyes, and it had been over the past decade, is they draft these kids and expect them to go straight away, but they don't have that experience level to be able to just go in the NFL.
Yep.
Some do,
Yep.
but not the majority. And I think he'd been quite vocal about the fact that you get these guys and you sit them for a period of time, and they learn, and then they see, and they absorb. Before you just throw them to the wolves.
Yeah,
But
that was. Go ahead, Isaac.
Oh, I was just going to say that's coming from an analyst type of view. He's now an owner, so as an owner, you want to get that rookie QB in there on that small contract and get the best out of him while you've got him on the least amount of money.
Yeah, no, and I would agree with you, but I would hope Tom would take the long-term approach and say, if we do this right, he's not a one contract quarterback. We want this guy for multiple contracts. So let's set him up in that regard. We'll see. Time will tell. And this is part of what I love about the Raiders is I feel like there's lots of different storylines about them, because then on the defensive side of the ball, so I feel like everything ends and begins with Max Crosby. He's the tone setter.
Now engaged.
He's the best player on the roster. He's the guy, every offensive coordinator has to account for, and that type of stuff. And the key was they needed to get better around him, and they did that. You look at their linebacker core; they really improved that with the Kobe Dean and Quay Walker, and those guys I think they actually look like a linebacker room from that is modern day, not from the 90s type thing. So they can cover in space, and it sounds like that defense is going to be really aggressive. They drafted a lot for the defense, or the DBs, for the back end there. So they're hoping that some of those guys are going to be able to develop, step up. They certainly threw a lot of draft picks at it. My question though to you guys is, do you think Max Crosby is on the team at the end of the season, or is he going to get traded?
Probably, I would say get traded. I think he'd probably get traded before the deadline. Because look, in a situation like this, it's hard to tell, but you're assuming that, not only is he pissed off with the Ravens, but he's probably pissed off with the Raiders as well. Because obviously how it went down, he didn't want to be rested that sort of last week. But I think the Raiders knew that even though they had the number one pick locked up, they knew that potentially they'd be moving on with him. So they wanted to avoid him being in a situation where he failed medical, but ultimately he did anyway. So I think it's on the board that he would be on a different team before the end of the season for sure.
Oh, I'm going to go the opposite there, Nick. I think he's going to stay. I think, like Brad was saying there, he's bled silver and black for how many years since he got drafted. And he's going to see the potential of what they're doing and look into the long-term future. And I think he's going to want to be a part of that. He thinks there might be something there. So I think he's going to bunker down, get ready, and go again. And I think, he'll tone set for the rest of the season.
That would be more so his decision. But my thing would be, let's say, for example, like we said, if their schedule is pretty tough or they can't get going, and let's say they're 2-5 or 2-6 and they're approaching that deadline, you're probably looking at having a top 5 to 10 pick again. Probably in the top 10. If you have a good second half of the year, it might be the organization's decisions like, you know what, we can still cash in. It might end up being a couple first, or maybe a first and a second. I don't know. A good team is, you can never have enough pass rushes. So a good team is always going to come through, and there will be injuries happen. And they'll be like, why not?
Yeah. And if anybody knows about not having enough pass rushers, it's the 49ers. So
we never have enough. We'll draft one every year. We never have enough.
Ian, what you break the tie between these two?
Well, yeah, because out of 3. It depends on what you're going to say, Brad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, what do you think? Is he going to stay or is he going to go?
I think he'll stay, to be honest, and I think it depends on how the defense goes more than anything, and how the season goes. But Isaac's right. He's bled silver and black since day dot. That man he's been all about the Raiders, and I think he'll try and fight to stay there. It does also help that they promoted Rob Leonard to defensive coordinator, who he's always gotten on very, very well with. So he was sort of a hangover from the Pete Carroll days there as well. So so that really helps, I think. And yeah, look, I think it depends how the season starts for Max with whether or not other teams are going to be looking at him, because of just what the Ravens have said about him in terms of failed medical and all this other stuff as well. So he's got to shake that at some point, which he'll want to. I think if any of us know Max Crosby by now, he is going to come out with not just a chip on his shoulder. It's basically going to be a 100-foot redwood. So yeah, he will just come out and just absolutely lay people out just to prove a point. But that's yeah. I think he stayed. Yeah, ultimately, I think he'll still be there at season's end.
Yeah. All right. My kind of, I know we're not doing this, but my bold prediction is that he's going to become a distraction, because I think they're going to do load management on him because of the injury. He's going to spit the dummy. They're going to do load management, and he's going to become a distraction, and they will get rid of him. That's my theory on this, is that and they'll take a single first round pick for him, and they'll just have to accept it. So that's where I'm going with it. And the team as a whole, I know we've gone long. We'll end with this, with the Raiders. The team as a whole, do you guys feel like they're headed in the right direction? And if so, how far are they away from being a playoff team?
Well, at least a couple of years.
Yeah, considering the direction so far, Brad, has been zero stability, incoherent team building, a lack of patience. From this point onwards, from what they've done, as I said at the top, I think that they may have finally started to head in the right direction. But they need to address those things as a franchise. I think it's not just one coach or one QB or one draft that fixes it. I think they need to get organizational stability, some kind of coherent team building, which we're obviously seeing. We've talked about that tonight. And they need to be patient. They need to be patient with the coach. They need to be patient with players. I don't know if I just wrapped that up for everybody.
No. Go, Isaac.
I was just waiting on Nick. Nick can go.
No, I was going to say, I think they're at least a good couple of years away. We don't know how they're going to look this year. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Like, is it going to work? If we see Mendoza, is he going? Do we think he's taking the right steps? There's a lot of questions. And on top of it, like, very tough division. So, how do you crack through in a tough division? Like, it's not like, like the Panthers last year that I able to get through with, the South being what it is. It's a tough division in the conference, so that's another leg to it. But, a step in the right direction. I don't know. I can't remember was it 3 games that they won last year? If they can get to at least double, so I'm going to say 7, it's a step in the right direction, I would say, for sure.
It'll be interesting to see what those under-overs are in a couple of months, Nick.
I bet you they'll come out with the under-overs here probably after the schedule release.
Yeah. Which is this week as well.
Yeah, it's 2 days. Isaac, what are your thoughts?
What do you think, mate?
I reckon they're going in the right direction. Like, along the lines of you guys, they're still a couple of years away. Like, we talk about Washington's wide receiver room. Like, this one's pretty bad as well. Like, they've got Trey Tucker as their wide receiver 1. So they've got to find something there. So I think they're going to be better. A pass mark for them this season would be, I'd say, 5 or 6 wins. I think they've got, like Nick said, they've got to double it, what they got. So I think they're going in the right direction. I think the free agency, they've done really well. They are going there, but it's a long road ahead.
Yeah. And we didn't really even dive into their tight ends a whole lot. Ian did a little bit, but You know, who doesn't love diving into a tight end? But anyway, so that was too easy.
Pulling out of one, Brad.
I was thinking it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But overall, I think the Raiders are a fun team to look at, and I look forward to doing this more with other teams.
Yep, so do I, Brad. I think they are a fun team to look at. I'll give you my bold prediction for these guys, which is going to be one for later on, is that I think that they might split with a couple of teams in this division this year.
Ooh, all right. I like it.
You got a bold prediction for them, Nick?
We don't have to do this. That was one thing that I was going to go for.
I haven't got a bold prediction.
It's not what we're doing here.
The pin for a bold prediction. I don't know. Maybe Mendoza. I reckon.
Oh no, let's not do this again.
Probably plays like half a season. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not even bold, but I don't know. That's the most I can come up with.
Isaac, let's see where this is going.
What's your bold?
Here we go.
No,
Super Bowl.
No. From what I said earlier, where I think he played, what they should do is play him the last 3 games, but I don't reckon we see him this year.
Here we go again.
I reckon he's red shirt this year, and just learn as much as you can.
I think
it's 2025 Shador Sanders all over again for us.
Yeah, I love it. No, I think we're gonna have a Tom Brady. He's gonna deflate Mendoza's balls, and we're gonna be able to see what he can do with the deflated ball. Anyway, all right, moving along.
All right, well that is the first of our deep dives. We hope you have enjoyed this nonsensical deep dive into the Las Vegas Raiders. We are going to try and do a couple of other teams through the off season. It's not going to be anything that's going to be week after week. It is intended to be a little more sporadic, and we are going to sort of just pick those teams that have got some interesting stories to talk about. We will have one maybe next week or the week after, depends on when a guest that I'm going to try and get on can come on. We'll sort of, you just have to stay with us for that. I know Brad will have an article coming out, his very first, on our Substack later this week, maybe over the weekend, depending on when Manjot drops that one, on the Las Vegas Raiders and the stuff that we've talked about this evening. So make sure you look at that for that. You can find everything to do with that, as always, on our social medias at G'day Gridiron on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and links to everything in the Aussie Gridiron Network at Linktr.ee/AussieGridironNetwork. So keep an eye on all of that stuff. Some great articles coming out over the off season for you to just sit and chew on and look at. If you have a suggestion for any teams you think we should do a little bit of a deep dive in over the off season, please do hit us up on any of those socials. We would love to hear from you. And until then, until next time, thank you very much, and see you later. Cool. I cannot hit stop because my internet has decided that it is unstable, and it takes away the option for me to stop a fucking recording.
What? So that makes sense. So what do you literally have to
basically just end the session? I'm hoping it stops everything. We'll fucking find out when we end the session.
It will. I mean,
Hopefully it records it.
Oh, it's still recording, everybody, because we're all still on a fucking call.
Yeah.
But the fact that it records it locally means we are. Anyway,
Okay.
So. All right, cool. Thanks, lads.
That was fun.
I messaged. I forgot to message Adrian during the week, so I messaged him just then while we were talking. So I'll see what he gets back to me about next week, whether we do Bengals next week.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian's the one that went to the draft.
Yeah.
I would love to get him on.
The Bengals international. He's keen to come on. It's just going to be lining up that time because we'll do the deep dive with Adrian, I think, Brad. So
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that'll be interesting because the Bengals International Fan of the Year talking about a deep dive on the Bengals for us.
That'd be awesome, man. So
yeah, and I might try on a couple of others if we got those interesting ones we're going to talk about with some teams that if we know somebody that's a fan, get them on too.
Now I'm completely ignorant when it comes to this stuff, but is there like Raiders fan pages that we could promote this episode to?
Yep, and I probably will try and do that a little bit as well.
Okay.
Certainly, I've already done up the artwork for it, and it heavily features the Raiders.
Mhm.
So
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking, dovetailing on that and, whatever, social media and all that crap. So,
yeah,
there'll be a bunch of toothless degenerates that can't use the internet, but
Fuck,
whatever.
we're still recording, mate. Send that to them.
Oh, they're used to that. They can't scratch their butt and sniff their hand with one hand. So, yeah. Anyway. All right.
All right.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah, cool.
Right.
So we'll
See
see
you.
what happens in here when I just kill everyone.
All right.
Later.
Anyway, I'll talk to you.
All right.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Yes.